I was born in Margaret Haig Hospital, Jersey City, New Jersey, June 23rd, 1954. I was raised in Jersey City until of the age of 12, went to Our Lady of Sorrows School there, then transferred to Lyndhurst, New Jersey, where I went to Sacred Heart School. And I went on there to 8th grade, which was 1968. From 1968 to 1972, I went to Lyndhurst High School. After Lyndhurst High School, I went to William Patterson College for 3 years, then took the Carpenters Union test, became a union carpenter, Jersey City, Lyndhurst, Jersey Shore, the country, Greenwood Lake, New Jersey, where my cousins lived. We went up there for weekends a lot, stayed on the lake. My cousin Ray and Tommy, who lost their father at a younger age, we would always take them on vacation when we went down the shore. My father was a compassionate man. Great memories of my dad. Me and my dad worked together. We were in business together. We had a Pepperidge Farm business together. You know, we went away. When I started doing plays and stuff in New York, my father was always right there for me. I had an office in New York. I had an office on 44th and Broadway. He was always at the office. He loved it because he said, this ain't a job. I said, yeah, it is a job. He goes, no, a job is throwing barrels off a ship when you're in oil like that, you know, unloading a ship. That's a job. This ain't a job. You have fun at this job. I said, but you work very hard at this job, you know? And he loved it. And my father was a great friend of mine. My father was in the oil company. He was a superintendent for Sunoco Oil for 30 years, and then he got laid off and he became a steam fitter in New York. And after that, he bought a Pepperidge Farm business, and we worked at Pepperidge Farm business, cookies in Newark, New Jersey. Well, my mom, there were 4 kids, so there was always stress there and stuff like that, raising 4 kids on a salary, and my mom was basically a homemaker sometimes. Other times she worked, you know. She had a job at YKK Zipper for 25 years down Lyndhurst Meadows, which was pretty funny, you know. YKK Zipper, the largest manufacturer of zippers in the world. My mother is New York descendant from Yorkville. My father met her at Greenwood Lake, as a matter of fact. Then they had, 4 kids together. And my parents were born in America. My mother's father was born in Newfoundland. I'm a Newfie by trade. And his name was George Fury. And my grandmother came here at 11 from Ireland, and her maiden name was Hickey. And that was my grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side. My father's side, my grandfather was born in eastern Pennsylvania. And that's where my grandmother met him, in eastern Pennsylvania, Evelyn and Jim Tooey. And then they came and they moved to Jersey City. I have 2 sisters and a brother. I was always the oldest. I was the athlete. I was out in front and stuff like that. None of them were any of that. I was always one that was a front person. I had to pave the way for everybody, but also come the rewards with that too.
Was there a gap with regard to your age and your siblings where you weren't that close?
Yeah, there is. There always is. I moved around the world a lot. I lived in Italy for 2 years when I was 29 to 32. I didn't live in Lyndhurst. I lived in Rutherford, and then I moved down the shore and stuff like that. My sister lived at Lake Apacon, where everybody, gets separated as you do get older, Well, my grandparents, I remember my grandmother. She died, I think, at 65, and my grandfather died at 62. But I spent a lot of time with them because I was the oldest. And I love my grandmother. She was a great cook. As a matter of fact, I have all her recipes. I still use those recipes for cookies and different cooking and things like that. And I remember my grandmother mostly more than anybody, because I was the oldest. My grandfather was a bus driver back in the day, for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Pee Wee Reese and all of those guys. He knew them all by first name and stuff, and he would drive the bus for them. My grandfather's name was Howard James Tooey, but everybody called him Jimmy Tooey. and that's who I'm named after, Jim Tooey. My grandmother was Evelyn Tooey, and let's see, who else? Anybody else? My mother's name was Catherine Tooey, and my father, Catherine was from Yorkville, and my father was from Jersey City, Donald Tooey. My Aunt Dolores was my mother's sister, who had 2 young boys in Greenwood Lake, who we would go up to Greenwood Lake all the time and that. And then my mother's brother was Iggy Fury, and he lived in Rockaway, Queens, and he had 2 daughters, Pat and Joan. Well, I always loved football, and when I was in football, then one day a friend of mine, John Rizzo, who was a great wrestler with me, said, he goes, "Why don't you go out for wrestling?" I said, "I know nothing about it." He goes, "No, we could beat people up and not get in trouble." I'm like, "Okay." So I went out, and then we had a championship wrestling team here in Lyndhurst, New Jersey. And then I started, Tim O'Neill and Joe DeMarco started the Rat Pack, the Rat Mats. And we started the first wrestling team in Lyndhurst, which we went on to win a lot of state championships. A very well-respected wrestling program here in town that I did. So, I moved on to that, and then I always ventured into acting. Wrestling is a solo sport, and so I like to do acting, and I went into New York. We're very close to New York. I'm 8 miles away. I would go into New York, audition for plays, and then I got an agent, audition for TV, and I did many things there. Oh yeah, I went past the threshold of everything, but my father always said to me, "Do the crime, do the time." I wasn't about to do the time. I didn't want to go there, so I never crossed the threshold. But as people could tell you, in this town, there were a lot of people that did, and this was a rough town to grow up in. It was, really was. And you could stick it away you want, but if you didn't, like I have a brother, he's away at college right now for 14 years. He crossed the line. He chose that path. That's his deal, I did get to see him in, Brenda Byrne Arena when it was there. I went to see Sinatra. I took my mother and father there because my father always wanted to see him. And we saw him, we sat pretty close. It was a good show. It was a great memory of mine. When I was first married, when I was about 30 years old. Later on in my life, I moved to New Orleans, and that's where my musical appreciation came in even more today than it ever did, I lived in New Orleans for 2 years, and I loved the music down there. Like I said, to be an actor, you need money, so I worked as a carpenter, and I would work in high-rise in construction in New Jersey or in New York. And I was passionate about my acting. I would scale the side of a building. One time I remember scaling 10 stories down on brick ties to go to an audition and jump on a subway. I did some theater and stuff in college. High school I couldn't do it because they wouldn't allow you to be in a play and be on a sport. But when I moved to college, I started doing plays. I started doing a few plays at William Patterson College. And then when I came out, I was a carpenter. I was in a carpenters union, and I wanted to pursue my passion, so I found ways to, audition in New York. Like I said, I'd run off the job a lot of times, and I'd give my job up just to do something because I could go back and work. I remember when I first came into the business, there was a service called Bells Are Ringing. Remember the play, Bells Are Ringing on TV. And you would go up to the office, and they'd have hundreds of boxes, and you'd have a number. So you'd order Bells Are Ringing, and number 113 was my number. And you'd call in, and you call in 2-3 times, 113, nothing here, nothing. Oh, we got one for you, you got to know. And when they would get a call for Jim Tooey, they'd write a note and they'd stick it in the box, and you had to call back, and that was the way you did it, before beepers came along. Pre-draft lottery. That's exactly right. And I had thousands of boxes there, Bells Are Ringing. And that was the only way you did it. And then you got beepers, and then they would beep you. Bells are ringing, or you would get a beeper service. And when they would get a call for you, the beeper would go off, and you'd have to call them back, find a payphone, and call them. So you'd run off the set, and you'd call, and you'd have an audition tomorrow. Okay, you'd have to call, and you got to call back within a certain amount of time. My first big role on TV, I did little extra parts, but a starring role was on One Life to Live. I played the hitman. Chased a girl around. It was a great role.
Really gonna see what her body's about.
Oh, do I remember getting my first television? Sure it was. We had the big dials on and a big screen. It was yellow wood and a green TV screen. I remember that. And my sister Kathy broke the dials all the time. My father'd lose her mind. I loved old movies. I said to my father, I remember when I was young, I said to him, and we were watching On the Waterfront. I said, Dad, who's that guy? He says, that's Frank DeCove. I said, who's that? He goes, that's Fred McMurray. Who's that? That's that guy. I said, he goes, they're in all the movies. He goes, you always see them guys. I go, that's what I want to be. I want to be a character actor. I want to be a character actor. And that's what I am today, and I love being a character actor.
An impact on you?
Growing up,
Yeah.
oh, you know, you have On the Waterfront, different, let's see, The Godfather, you know, different things like that, all the great movies. I don't know what else, Godfather, On the Waterfront. Oh.
I have a feeling you like crime.
Yeah, I like all crime. So Casino, what's the name? Goodfellas, things like that. But I also I like passionate stories. I like great telling stories. A great story, you know, that is told. There's nothing like a great story that is told, and that's what I'm passionate about today. I remember going to the movie theater in Journal Square. It said air conditioned, and we were all like, "Wow." So there was a whole group of us boys, and what movie did we go see? But The Hustler with Paul Newman. You know, it's great. Yeah.
That was cool.
A great movie. My daughter is 31, Jessica, and my son is 29, JT. They're both in law enforcement. He's a prison guard working his way to be a cop, a police officer, and my daughter is a probation officer. And their mother works in the courts. She loves being a judge's assistant because she's, you know, OCD, and that's what you have to be.
Are you a grandfather?
Yeah, I'm a grandfather. My daughter's daughter is Mariella, beautiful baby. I call her baby mocha latte because she's half Spanish. I get to see my grandchild and my children on holidays. My daughter came out to California last year, and we bounced around with her and my granddaughter. It was fun. My son, you know, I see him when I come home, and he came when I was in New Orleans. He came to New Orleans to visit me. We had fun there. I get to see my granddaughter and my nieces whenever I come home at Christmas time and stuff like that. But who knows? You never know when tomorrow's going to bring. I've been blessed, you know. Yeah, you know, some health problems growing up. As you get older, you always have health problems, but you get through it. You know, I'm a brain tumor survivor. Hepatitis C, had a staph infection in my leg, almost died from that. And then I wrote a play called Tumor Humor, He's Malignant, She's Benign. It's a story. I had a benign brain tumor. My friend had a malignant brain cancer in a breast. And we wrote a play over about 4 or 5 years, and we produced it, and it was produced off Broadway. And I had it in the Fringe Festival, won some awards with it. What keeps me positive? When I wake up in the morning and I open my eyes and I say, I stole another one. I got one, because you know something. I didn't think I was gonna have a few, but you know, you steal one here, you steal one there, and the next thing you know, you become 64 years old and you don't realize it. I almost bought it twice. I was on the table twice. I died, and I'm back here. So I'm back here for a reason. Maybe I could help some people out. I ran a foundation that helped children with childhood cancer. Wrote the play, and you know, my life's not over yet. Laughter. I like to make people laugh. I like to have fun. I like to have laughter. I hate drama because I do it for a living. And I just want to have my children remember me as, you know, a great dad and things like that. And they do, and they're very good friends of mine. I talk to my children every day. You know, I talk to my ex-wife, you know, once or twice a week. I talk to my sister-in-law. I talk to my niece. You know, they're my family. You can't, when you get divorced, you can't just stop being around someone. It's too much wasted energy. Life's too short, you know? And that's what I love about everything. Laughter keeps the whole world going. I worked for a guy one time called Laughing Yoga, and we would go into hospitals, and laugh. And we would make people just start laughing because laughter is contagious. It's, your body doesn't know if it's real or if it's fake when you laugh. Your endorphins release. So one time, I used to do stand-up comedy. I gave it a shot, right? And I got invited to Sloan Kettering room over there. Very prestigious room. Jerry Seinfeld, all of them do. You have to be invited. So I got up there, and I was telling jokes, and this one guy is laughing like crazy. And I didn't know. I'm saying, my God, this guy. So I look at the guy, and he has half a head. Half a head, he's on chemo, and they cut half his head open. And he's laughing, and I'm going, you're laughing? He goes, you're the funniest guy I ever heard. I go, but you got a half a head. He goes, yeah, right? And I'm laughing. I mean, so that tells you what life is about. And if you can make somebody laugh and make their day a little happier, it makes the whole world a lot better place. And that's what I like about Rodney Dangerfield, Richard Pryor, people of that, they were the greatest. You don't get things. Johnny Carson. There's nobody that could tell a joke like Johnny. Nobody could sit at a table behind the desk like Johnny, I don't think. Any one of these three shows, I work on Jimmy Kimmel sometimes as Donald Trump. I'm the Trump clown, too, Remember when that guy, they shot him in the head? That's me. My kids hate it. They hate, stop being a clown, you're 64, I used to go in for auditions. I don't have an audition. I bring my tripod with me when I travel, and I bring my microphone with me, and I plug it and I set it up, and I have a Bluetooth, and I have the microphone, I have an MP3 player, and I send in my voiceovers and that. I never go into the studio anymore. It's very detached. The whole world, I think, is becoming detached, and I think that's why we have the problems we do. My legacy is like, I was in construction for years, and then I'm in the movie business, and I'm acting and stuff like that, and I'm still helping different foundations and things like that as you get older, and I'm still working and having fun, and I'll work as long as I can, and I don't have to quit or do anything, right now. And you go through different relationships in life, and you meet different people, and you're just hoping that tomorrow is another day that you wake up and open your eyes, and because every day, about 160,000 don't open their eyes, and I'm one of them that did, so I'm a very lucky guy. I'm a very lucky guy, I know I am. Like I said, brain tumor, cancer survivor, dead on the table twice. You don't get many chances like that. Well, for my granddaughter and future grandkids, they have more opportunities than we do, as we had more opportunities than our fathers did. I wish them success, and I see them how they are with the internet and stuff like that, and just to move into the different world and tell them experience everything. And there's always going to be drugs, there's always going to be evil out there, there's always going to be things when you start getting older, and we have a legacy, different things in my family. I think my kids didn't do drugs because of my brother, and they saw how your family was destroyed from drugs. And it does destroy a family. It destroys the inner soul of it, and it breaks people apart. So my kids aren't into that, and I don't think my granddaughter will be either, and things like that. And that's the message I try and get across to them, and stay as a family and always stay friends.